Hey everybody, welcome to Marriage Moment. This is Renee, my wife. I'm Jason, and we have been for the last 8 years, seems like a long time, been going through these books, kind of giving you a summary of what we're learning from these groundbreaking, recently updated books for men only and for women only. And last week we finished the for men only, so we're done with that. And we have today and next week in the for women only. And so it's kind of self-explanatory, but you take this, women read it, and you get an insight into our brain, into our hearts, and into our motivations. Same with the men. And today's is complicated and difficult, and I think I'll probably not say much after this little introduction and just let you do the talking, because this is a hard one for you ladies especially, and I don't know how much I need to add into it. But the whole chapter starts with her saying, ladies, before you read this, pray first.
Yeah.
And you wanted to tell the ladies watching this, before you watch this, just say a prayer.
Say a little prayer.
Maybe push pause and pray, because this is a hard thing to hear.
It is. It's hard to accept.
Hard to accept.
Yeah. I think because of what the culture pushes on a woman as
Mhm.
far as how we look on our outward appearance. And so, but I think it's really good, and I think it's something that we need to talk about because it's very important to a man.
88% of the men that they surveyed said this is a very important thing. In fact, this thing we're about to talk about, like 84% of men ranked it above respect and love.
Yeah.
This thing, which is crazy to me,
I know.
because a man's basic need in life is to be respected, but 84% of the men they surveyed said this thing we're about to talk about ranks above that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's pretty important to our men, and it's something that I think she talked about this in the book, that most men don't feel like they can say anything about it
Exactly.
because they don't want to hurt their wife's
This
feelings.
is why I'm going to just sit here and be quiet, because most of us would not, dare not say a word.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because you love us and
Right.
you don't want to hurt our feelings.
Right.
But you still have these feelings.
Right.
So I think it's good that we talk about it.
Okay.
So we prayed about it first. And then we just want to, the subtitle on the first part of this chapter says that the way a husband feels is that the effort that his wife puts into her appearance is extremely high on his priority list. It's very important to him. And I want to make sure that our ladies don't hear us saying that they have to look a certain way. I think the main point is that we are willing to give effort.
Effort matters.
Effort matters. And so this one, there was somebody that wrote in and they just gave some quotes. And one of the quotes was, I just want to see that my wife cares enough about me to make an effort.
It's interesting because
Yeah.
we as men feel loved when you as our wives take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Don't dress like a slob. Make an effort to look good, to be confident in your own skin. We feel loved when you make that effort.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And that's really important for us to know that. I remember when we were younger and we were having kids, and I was raising kids, staying at home, doing little extra jobs, and so I wasn't getting dressed up every day for work. And I realized at some point that you were going to work and you were seeing women all around, town and at work where you worked, that were dressed up and had a nice appearance. And I knew, because I believe the best about you, I knew that you weren't thinking, all these women look so nice, and then I go home and my wife looks terrible. But to me, I thought about that it was really important that I still try to take care of myself. And even though I didn't have a reason to get really dressed up, I wasn't leaving the house for a job, I still needed to take care of myself. I needed to dress nicely and not look like a slob and never have my makeup on and never fix my hair just because I was staying home with the kids. And so that took a lot of effort on my part, since I had so much going on at home. But I just realized that is really important, even though I didn't know about this. I hadn't read this book, but I do remember that as a young woman, that I didn't do that perfectly, but I needed to give some effort in that area. And so, of course, now I'm dressed up every day because I'm going to work, and so it makes it a little bit easier. And there's something else that makes it easier too, is that we've been married so long that there somewhere in there, when I realized that your love for me was so deep and there was a commitment and I'm stuck with you, is what you tell me, it helped me still give effort to taking care of myself, but it helped me become confident in myself and more comfortable in my own skin. And we've talked about that together, and we even talked about it after we read this chapter, that's what is attractive.
100%. And that's basically what this chapter is saying. It's
Yeah.
not saying, ladies, you have to be a size 0. I didn't know
Right.
that was a size. That's
Yeah,
a size.
it is. I wouldn't know, but it's
It doesn't make sense to me.
It is.
It's not that we want you to be a certain size or look a certain way. We want you to be confident in who you are and how you look, and that effort and that ability to be confident is very attractive to us.
Yeah. And so I think something in the chapter she was saying is, women, we know this is hard to hear. It kind of goes deep into our heart in a real tender spot because we fight this so much in the culture, but we want to be sure that we're always fighting complacency. That we don't just stop taking care of ourselves because we've already gotten married and maybe it's really hard to stay in shape. And it helped when I stopped trying to be a certain size and a certain thing, or trying to be like I used to be, because that's almost impossible. But I want to fight that complacency to just kind of give up, which I do see women that do that, and I think it makes it really hard. It also speaks to the energy level. When you're not working out and you're not taking care of yourself and eating right, you're probably not sleeping well, and then you probably don't have a lot of energy. And your husband wants you to have energy to do the fun things with him and
So
to
true.
do the connection things, and so that's still really important. So there were 3 things that if the men could tell us, this is what they would tell us. Number 1 is, when you take care of yourself, I feel like you care about me.
Yeah.
That's how our man feels.
That's how your guy thinks.
Yeah.
He would never say it. He would
No.
never say it.
No. But that is how he feels.
And we can't help that.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of there's a part of this reading this chapter that just makes me feel like icky about myself because it doesn't seem, I don't know, it doesn't feel right. But there are some things that we're just wired the way we're wired.
Right.
I can't help the fact that God wired men to be visual creatures. That is
Right.
beyond my control.
And they talked about that.
They
in the
did,
chapter.
but what I can control is what I look at, what I choose to look at, what I choose to be attracted to. And so when I read this chapter, when I read this chapter, I thought, I don't know if this is fair, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's not fair when we as men place unrealistic expectations on our wives. That's not fair.
Yeah.
And we've been saying for weeks on these videos and then on our Wednesday night thing that as a married man, you are my standard for beauty. And these 2 things really go hand in hand. That you are my standard for beauty, it makes that a lot easier when we see you taking care of yourself.
Yeah. That makes sense. So the number 2 thing the man would say, it goes the other way.
Mhm.
When you don't take care of yourself, the man feels unvalued and unhappy.
Like 88% of the men said that.
Yeah. So
Like, we're not worth it for you to make the effort. That's
Yeah.
kind of what it boils down to.
right. And that's hard for us to hear as a woman, but I think it's really important. We need to listen to that. And then the 3rd thing they would say is, I want and need to be proud of you. Because he talked a little bit about men have this competition thing, whether they like it or not, or whether they mean to do it or not, just as a man, that you want to have a nice looking wife, a wife that takes good care of herself. And it's not so much about what size she is, just that she's giving effort. And so you want to be proud of your wife. So the bottom line, I think, for this whole chapter, and it's something that has rung true so much for me, is that as a wife, I want to work on being comfortable in my own skin and being confident in who I am, and that is the most attractive thing to a husband.
For sure.
So that's something that I think we might have to ask God to help us do if we're really struggling in that. And I think that's harder when you're a young woman and just going through all the stuff you're going through when you're raising a young family. It gets easier as we get a little bit older
Interesting.
to be comfortable in our own skin. So the good news, she has 3 good news things about this that
Let's
ends
end
the chapter.
with good news.
So good news number 1 is that your man wants to help you. Like it talked about that she would have her husband, when it was so busy when the kids were little, he would watch the kids so she could go work out a few times a week. And he was willing, very willing to do that because he wanted the best for his wife and he wanted her to feel good. And he wanted to be proud of her.
Right.
So he helped out. The second good news is there is a revolution in the resources to help you because there's been so much scientific research. She talked about one of the diets that she has found that has just made her able to see that she can keep doing this forever. She said she's done every diet ever known. And her husband would do
That's
them with
probably
her.
pretty common.
Yeah, I think that is pretty common. And most of them didn't work. She said most of them she just gained back. And this is not all about weight, but she found something that works for her. And she mentioned, I think it was the South Beach diet. So because of scientific research and because of so many resources online, and I mean, there's got to be something that helps us be in shape and feel good. And I've been kind of working on what I like to do as exercise because it's changed over the years. And now I love to be outside and walking and doing some of that kind of stuff as my exercise. And I want to be careful about eating the right things and being healthy, but I also like good food and I let myself have that sometimes.
Absolutely. I'm gonna have some carrot cake when we're done today.
Yeah, me too. So the third good news, and this is a great good news, is that God is going to help you, and all you have to do is ask. And I think that what a great bottom line is, ask God to help you if you're really struggling in this area. Don't push back and be defensive on this, because it's just saying this is how a man feels, and this is the way God designed our man. And so we're going to push in and embrace it, and we're going to take care of ourselves.
All I have to say about that. Yeah. Well, next week we'll finish, and the title of this is Words for Your Heart. The last one we'll do next week. And the subtitle is What Your Man Most Wishes You Knew About Him. Interesting. Thank you for taking the time to watch. If you're not a subscriber, 50% of the people that watch this are not subscribed. It really helps us if you would just push that little subscribe button. We'd appreciate it. Have a great night.